For when it comes to finding friends, few of us have so much love in our lives that we need to reject possibilities just because they don't fill that one opening we think we need filled. Like those who live with sleep deprivation and think it's normal, not knowing what rested feels like, I think the vast majority of us are actually really largely disconnected and could probably benefit from adding more love in our lives from an array of people. I invite you to cast your net wider, not narrower at this point in the game. Don't doubt someone's potential just because you don't instantly see it. In fact, hard data tells us that it doesn't matter, this is amazing, it doesn't matter which particular parts of our lives are similar to those of our friends, only that we end up finding some similarities. The Brofman brothers, who co-wrote the book Click, share research that reveals that people bond more deeply over the quantity of perceived similarities. The number of similarities matters more than the content of those similarities. They wrote, and I quote, "Sharing a strong dislike of fast food, for example, was just as powerful a predictor of attraction as favoring the same political party." That's amazing. So this is like, these are two scientists, like psychologist guys, who came up with, did all this massive research and compiled it all. And when they were actually looking and saying, so why are you two friends? And why are you two friends? And what was it that helped you click? And kind of helping assess, like, what is it we need to have in common with somebody that would help us know, is this going to turn into a friendship? And they said sharing a dislike of fast food was as good of a predictor as if you both were from the same political party, which is amazing to me. In other words, what we consider as this big thing that we think we need to have in common isn't as effective as bonding us as having two or three what might be called small things in common. The Brofmans further explain, you would think that people who share the same religious convictions and political views, for example, would be more likely to hit it off than those who only share similar tastes in film and music. But it didn't matter at all which topics underlay the similarity. It was the degree of similarity that was important, the quantity. So it's the similar if we were walking around saying, I will only be friends with people with my name. Which for me, I would have no friends. except a bunch of dogs all over the country, apparently. But it would be the same thing they say as for me walking around saying, I have to have this commonality of me having the same name, or we have to be born on the exact same date. We're doing the same thing when we're walking around saying, I can only be friends with other mothers. I can only be friends with women who are single. I need only entrepreneurs. We in our heads create these categories that we think are really, really important. And I will say that in my book, I have 5 types of friends. And if you have all your circles full, and then there's an area of your life that you say, actually, I do just need somebody who knows what it's like to go through cancer, or I do need somebody who knows what it's like to be an entrepreneur, or I do need somebody who knows what it's like to be divorced, or to be a mom. So it's a really valuable circle of friends, but it's one of the 5 circles of friends. And so for us at the early stages, where most of us, unless you already have this full continuum, most of us need to be welcoming more people in our lives. And I can prove it to you by you looking back in your life at all the people that you have bonded with, and all the different people that you are actually close to now. And you would say, actually, there's a long list of people in there who are in different life stages than I am now. And I have proven that I can love them and build a relationship with them. I have proven that we don't, my sister is like a Tampa, Florida stay-at-home mom who homeschools and is part of PTAs, and I'm like San Francisco running a business. I mean, if we met, we wouldn't think we had anything in common and wouldn't be friends. And yet, obviously we're related, so we're kind of forced to be hanging out with each other. But we've proven that you can love people and be valuable to each other's lives and support each other's lives without having those other things in common. And that's true for you too. So if we confine our search for friends to those whose lives mirror ours, we might not take the time to be more curious with each other, which could result in not discovering that we both worked at summer camp in college, both traveled to Zambia, or were both at the same Madonna concert tour in the 80s, all of which could prove as bonding as finding another woman at the same life stage as we are. We're shooting ourselves in the friendship foot to fall for the myth that we know this one thing that person needs to possess in order to bond with us. If there's a first step to making friends, it is being open to possibilities beyond what we can see with our limited judgments. It's recognizing that we're making judgments about someone without yet loving them, forgetting that it is love in the end that makes all of the friends. That was the first step to making friends, was being open. The second step is initiating consistency. We can all look at each other and be like, you're amazing, you're fun. And if we never actually get together again, not a friendship. She can be an amazing person you're friendly with, but being friendly with someone is different than having a friendship. So first step is being open. Second step is initiating consistency. Third step is increasing positivity. because none of you woke up this morning saying, I need more people in my life who are needy, demanding, and wanting. So third step is increase positivity. Fourth step is add positivity. Fourth step is increase vulnerability. And that's the last excerpt I'm going to read from, is the increasing vulnerability section. And increased vulnerability is an interesting one because we often think of it as sharing our secrets, which is a part of it, and that's a big part of it that I talk about in the chapter. But increasing vulnerability is often, it's other things that really matter the most in the early stages, like walking in this event tonight was vulnerable. I felt insecure. Some of you, you wonder, am I going to know anybody? And am I going to feel out of place? Or am I going to be, and I'm going to look like I don't even, and we all our little heads start running with all these fears. Meeting a complete stranger for coffee, or somebody you met online, or somebody that you just kind of ran into at an event and you decided to follow up on an email. That's vulnerable, to write an email. It's vulnerable to be the first time where you call somebody with no reason to call them. A friendship has to progress to that stage where you're just calling to say hi, and that's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to initiate and not hear back, and then initiate again. So there's a lot of stages of vulnerability, and a friendship doesn't happen without those stages in being increased with our emotions, with our actions, and it triggers all of our insecurities. I talk about in the book that they say that the greatest fear in all of life is rejection. They say even your fear of death is linked to the fear of rejection, that your life didn't matter, or that people won't show up, or that you won't be remembered, or that you didn't do enough. The fear of public speaking is linked to rejection. So every